How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and welcome back to a brand new video, guys. So today I want to talk about something very, very interesting. The possibility of another Pokemon game coming out this year. Now, I know we had the Pokemon Day and the announcement of course, Pokemon Legends ZA, but there is a possibility, and there's a lot of things pointing towards the potential of us getting another Pokemon game announced this year. Now, some of you might be a bit hesitant, but I'm going to go through some reasonings, basically 3 different reasons as to why it could be happening. Now, the first reason we're going to go through is the first, I guess the most obvious one, which is individuals who are within the Pokemon community, who are either leakers, insiders, or just people with some level of background knowledge, have been saying Black and White remakes or just something related to a remake game for a while now. They've already been saying that, and I want to take a look at some of those posts in regards to that. There's one of the first things. The second thing is there's actually a logic to there being an announcement later in the year for a game this year. Like, it actually makes sense with what they've done in the past. And so we're going to get started with the first thing, which is going to be this right here. Now, this is a post from Centro, and this is specifically a post he made only for people that are subscribed to him, so I had to give $2 for this to be able to access it. But basically, what he tweeted out was this, and he said, rumor, a outsourced Black and White, or BW, right, so Black and White. So he says, a new rumor has appeared about the elusive Gen 5 remake. We aren't posting this publicly yet because we don't trust it. So, good thing to point out is that he doesn't trust this, right? He doesn't even trust this himself. And again, Centro Leaks, they're not actual leakers. Centro Leaks is just a how would you even put this? They basically just take like leaks from others, and they kind of just post them and share them, right? So they're kind of an aggregator of leaks and information. But they continue on and say, at least not yet. We'll use these subscribe tweets to post early rumors that we don't want to give undue attention before time. Sometimes they will be correct, sometimes they won't be. So yeah, maybe I'm being a bit of a doo-doo here for sharing this, but it is what it is, guys. I just want to talk about it because I think this matches well with some other stuff I want to talk about. So let's continue. Now it says, this comes from a user in the Fami boards who is claiming that they have sources that an outsourced Black and White remake is coming this year. Now, the user hasn't been banned yet, which is a good point. So apparently, like, the Fami boards would normally ban someone unless they had some level of actual information. And we're going to take a look at what this guy has to say. But he says, though, as usual, take it with a grain of salt, as this person doesn't have a track record. So here's what this individual actually said. So after Gen 5 remakes were absent from the presents, I did some digging, and I've heard from my friends in the industry that Gen 5 remakes are due this year still and being handled by a separate studio. So this was posted by Goopy Snail. So apparently they're being handled by a separate studio, not ILCA. It's possible that separate studio could be the brand new studio that you guys may remember, the new one called Pokemon Works, right? The new company called Pokemon Works. It could be them. It could be literally that studio that has been created. It's a subsidiary of the Pokemon company, so it could be them that are working on it together with ILCA or something like that, but who knows? Either way, he continues on saying, apparently they want to show it closer to release to avoid the backlash they had with BDSP looking unpolished. So, of course, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Now, I don't know if that makes any sense, but sure. They are targeting a November 2024 release and should be shown this summer/autumn, okay? Obviously, please take this with a grain of salt, but I trust my sources and hope this brings some positivity to those disappointed by the lack of Gen 5 news. I'll try to get some more information about the remakes ASAP for everyone, as I'm not sure if they are faithful or more like ORAS, and whether Black and White 2 is actually also included. Moving on, he actually had a second post. So the first one here was posted on the March 1st, and then he sent a second post saying, hi there. I have some info I haven't shared yet, but I'm waiting for solid confirmation from my sources. Okay, I can confirm they will be a slightly different art style to BDSP, but still top-down, akin to ORAS. I was expecting it to be shown at the presents, but they are still polishing the game, and I want to avoid any undue negative impressions from showing it, or they want to, I guess. They are still polishing the game and want to avoid any undue negative impressions from showing the actual gameplay. Hope that helps. I will share more as when possible. Now, this does sound realistic. There was a lot of backlash to BDSP, and I think even internally they did pay attention to that. They did actually notice that that was happening. I think a lot of the people over at the Pokemon Company probably don't want there to be a negative stigma around their game. They would prefer if everybody was just happy with Pokemon, right? Just love Pokemon for what it is. That's the ideal way they probably want things to be. However, it doesn't change the fact that people were very pissy, okay? People were very angry about these games. Like, they were angry about the way they looked, they were angry about everything, and the only thing that kind of kept people going with BDSP was the fact that they were already guaranteed to get Legends Arceus. So it's really weird to me that they wouldn't announce. Maybe it's because there was no gameplay of Legends ZA and they didn't want to show that off just yet, and maybe that's why they decided to delay the other one. I don't really know. But if this is true, if this actual post, this rumor is true, that would be very massive. So here is basically Centro's take on this, right? This is what Centro says is their basically opinion of this whole thing, and this is what they said. So they basically said that our take is as follows. Basically, Pioro also mentioned that he heard about an outsourced black and white remake. Now, if you don't know Pioro, and this is a person that you definitely should know about if you've been in the leaking scene or whatever, but Pioro is a legitimate leaker. Like, this guy does not miss. Like, he's been correct like 99% of the time. He was also correct for the most recent Mario Day. He was correct about like the whole partner showcase that was happening, like the Nintendo partner showcase, which had that new like Endless Ocean game, like the remake or the new game or whatever. He literally like knew that ahead of time, and he basically predicted all of it, like even the Monkey Ball game. So this guy does know his shit. And guess what? Well, when somebody asked him here about one of his tweets around the 21st of February, so this is before Pokemon Day, asked him, "Hey Pioro, do you have any information for the Pokemon Presents on February 27th, specifically when it comes to their Nintendo Switch game?" He says, "I don't know anything about the Pokemon Presents. Well, I heard of an outsourced Unova-related game." So he has heard, like he has sources, he has people that he knows that know information. And somebody in there has literally told him or said or he's heard from an actual person that an outsourced Unova-related game exists. This info was from last year, so may turn out to be inaccurate. So this is the crazy thing, right? This is the crazy part. And even he clears up here down there that this is not a leak. It should be taken with a grain of salt. I'm just sharing something I'm aware of. So that's again the thing, right? He's not saying that this is an actual leak. It's just something that he heard of, and he is very much like on like the fence in regards to it, because it could be old information, it could be canceled, it could be whatever. But the fact that even like this is the crazy part. The fact that Pioro said that, and this man has been correct, okay? He was correct about Nintendo Direct. He's correct about the Mario Day. He's correct about a bunch of stuff. Like, you have to, please keep that in mind. He has been correct about a crazy amount of things, okay? A crazy amount of things. So, when Central brings it up here, it says, Pioro also mentioned that he heard about an outsourced black and white remake. They're just kind of taking into account that that's already been mentioned by him. Then also the fact that Koo, if you guys don't know Riddler Koo, is a actual leaker. Recently, though, people have not trusted Koo as much, and I know some of you will not like Koo or not be happy with him because there was no black and white shown off this early on yet. Then again, black and white, it's interesting though, because Koo said it last year, and people kind of forgot about that. But last year, Koo literally said, like early last year, like I really mean early last year, he literally said, oh, next year is going to be just dead for the first 6 months. Like, it's going to be nothing. Which, if you think about it, it kind of looks like that's the case. Because if they do announce a Pokemon game, like a remake, that usually should happen around May or June. So that's halfway into the year already, which is a long time. But he says that Koo has hinted that there could be something this year still, though credibility is currently at an all-time low. The possibility of a remake this year is not zero. Exactly. And this is where we go back to, like, Koo, right? Because the thing about Koo is, people think he's been like fake because he didn't get stuff right, or he didn't hint directly to Legends ZA, which I think Legends ZA, as far as I'm aware from inside sources that I've heard from, Legends EA kind of caught everybody off guard. Apparently, everybody got caught off guard by Legends EA. Some people only knew about it like the day before, so they didn't have even time to prepare for it. But some people only knew about it like the day before, which is why I wonder if maybe the reason that Riddler Koo, the only riddle he gave us, was the code name of the game, which was just Ikaku, right? That's the only thing he kind of hinted at, and that's it. Like, everything else, like, really wasn't really that connected to it. But the other riddles could still be connected to a game later this year, which is, again, highly possible. And the reason I say it's highly possible is because of the following. I'm going to show you this image, and again, I brought this image up many times, but this is giving you a general idea of when Pokemon games used to get announced. So this right here, this list, is a list of Pokemon release timeframes, right? So basically, Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, for example, that game was announced on May 7th, okay? Keep in mind, listen, so Pokemon Day is always on February 27th. February 27th. That's when Pokemon Day is always happening. So if we look at this list up here, this is announcements. This is when these games were announced and shown off, and we got the first look at them, or the first announcement and knowledge of their existence, right? The first one, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, was a remake, which was announced on May 7th of 2014. Ultra Sun and Moon, which is a third version, that was announced on June 6th of 2017. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, which was a kind of remake, right? It was a remake of basically yellow version. That was announced on May 30th of 2018. So it's always announced between May and June. That's when remakes get announced. And I think there are a few more here that are even missing that we haven't even included in this list. But there are other games that also should be included here that make sense, like just fit perfectly in here. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not an impossibility, okay? It's not out of the realm of possibility that this could be still happening. Like, it definitely is still possible. And there are other people that also put out posts. Like, for example, in this case, we had Soul, who even made a post about this as well, saying, I've seen so many people, big names and not big names, saying that Pokemon companies skip black and white remakes, or that there's no mainline game in 2024, or that they are thankful this is a gap year and they're taking more time. Not exactly true, lol, no. Because guess what? Legends EA, not taking more time. They're still taking the same amount of time they've always taken to make the games, which is 3 years. That's how long Legends EA is going to be in development by the time it's released. But he says here, this year was always an outsourced remake year, as Game Freak is currently working on their other two projects, PLZA and Gen 10, both seemingly on their normal dev cycles. Exactly. PLZA was announced for 2025 as a hype news for Pokemon Day in 2024. How would yesterday have gone if the only announcement was an outsourced faithful black and white remake instead? I think they pulled this off masterfully. We got this hype Pokemon Days news, and now people will only be more hype a few months from now, April and July, when they announce a black and white remake for this year too. Now, PLA and BDSP were both Sinnoh, so they are connected, but these two games aren't, so there was no need to reveal them at the same time. Also, games like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee and Ultra Sun and Moon were revealed as late as June of the same year they came out, and those were Game Freak made games. I know I'm talking like this is confirmed, and that's because I heard this from two people I fully trust, plus corroborating evidence that Pioro had heard the exact same thing I heard from a different source. So again, same thing here. I've heard from sources, same shit. Everybody in the background has heard that this is what's happening, which is really weird. Why would all of them have heard the same thing? Unless like they all have been misled somehow, but that just seems really out of place, because other stuff they've said has been correct. So he says, I may die on this hill, but I'm standing with these people I trust, and I'll take the L if it doesn't happen. Even then, I still fully believe that it was planned. Whether to Pokemon Company Incorporated decide to push it back or cut it for this year is unknown, but I can't jump to that conclusion until after July. Pokemon Day is not the end-all, be-all to Pokemon news for each year. We usually get more news. Now, what does this mean for Black and White remakes, though? Well, it means PLZA may have made them even more insignificant than BDSP were to PLA, which could be the case, but I will say, nobody seems to be interested in PLZA right now. The actual interest and searches for PLZA has dropped so massively because there's just nothing to work with. There's like no gameplay. People don't really have anything to be excited for because we don't even know what the game is going to be like yet. We have basically zero information, but that's pretty much where we are in regards to that. So that's the post he had there. But again, this brings me back to what I talked about here with this timeline. The only time a remake has been announced earlier than May or June was literally BDSP, and that was an exception, not the rule. That was the first time a remake was announced at the start of a year at Pokemon Day rather than the middle of the year around like February or, like we said, June. And it makes sense because it was a wombo combo together with Legends Arceus to kind of have them both promoted together. And again, highly possible that we could get a game announced. And let's go back to the actual post here, right, that we were on. So again, this post from Centro, same thing again. It's just like a highly possible thing. But again, it's just a bit of a hot take right now. It's like not possible to like 100% know. But there is another thing, which is Riddler Coup. So we had a post here on the top here from Joe Merrick, who runs Cerebi.net, right? He runs the Cerebi.net website, which is massive. And he said, 2024, a year off then, sweet. And he posted this on Pokemon Day. But then Coup replied with a emoji, saying, like, kind of implying like, are you sure this is a chill year? Are you sure this is a year where you can relax? Because I don't think so. I don't think so, buddy. And I agree. I think he's hinting here at something. And then he tweeted out this as well, which a lot of people don't like this. A lot of people are kind of angry at him tweeting this. But basically what he tweeted here was the following, which is a list of a bunch of mythical Pokemon and then listing what games they were included in. So Mew, for example, being in BDSP, Celebi being in Crystal's Virtual Console. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Jirachi being in BDSP, Deoxys in ORAS, Manaphy in PLA, Darkrai in PLA, and Shaman in PLA. Arceus was also in BDSP and PLA. Well, actually, Shaman was also in BDSP, which I don't know why he didn't include that. And then he has Victini Victini on To Be Decided, Keldeo on Sword and Shield Crown Tundra, Meloetta in Scarlet and Violet Indigo Disc, Genesect on To Be Decided, Diancie is Ikaku, Hoopa Ikaku, and Volcanion Ikaku. Now, Ikaku is the code name, by the way. Ikaku is the code name for Pokemon Legends EA. That's a code name of the actual game, which is something he did hint at before the actual reveal. But nonetheless, though, the only two here that matter to me is Victini with the To Be Decided and Genesect with the To Be Decided, which makes me wonder if maybe what he's trying to do here with the TBD is literally kind of hinting at, oh, they're To Be Decided because they're going to be in the Black and White remake, which logically would be a logical place to put those, right? Like, those two make total sense to put there. Except, I guess, Keldeo's not there and Meloetta's not included there. That's a bit, like, I guess, odd, but Victini and Genesect make total sense to be decided for a Black and White remake, or something similar to BDSP, a remake of Black and White. Like, that actually makes sense. As much as I've been against Black and White remakes for this year, which I really thought they weren't going to happen, and now somehow I feel more. Like, before the reveal on Pokemon Day, I thought it was way less likely we were going to get Black and White remakes than I thought it was. Like, I thought it was super unlikely it was going to happen. Now somehow I feel more inclined to believe that it's going to happen, which is really weird and makes no sense. Which makes me wonder if any of this is connected to this right here. Now, I talked about this in a previous video, but it turns out that the Pokemon Company has registered a new subsidiary called Pokemon Works. Now, I talked about this, but this is a new company, a new subsidiary to the Pokemon Company that's going to be located in the same building as ILCA. And of course, ILCA is the company that made Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, the remakes of Diamond and Pearl. Now, he says, we have no idea what this is about, but we have speculated the Pokemon Company and ILCA have set up a support studio to help Game Freak develop new games in the future, which is really interesting. And he says here, this is a good thing, right? If our speculation is accurate, then it means that we get more staff for the main series games. This also means a tighter control by the Pokemon Company over their borrowed staff from ILCA. Then future smaller games can be developed entirely by Pokemon Works, leaving Game Freak with more time for bigger games, which, yes, This is definitely true. This is 100% true. And this is kind of where I'm at right now, where I'm wondering, because remember what Pioro said, right? He literally said that he's heard of an outsourced Unova-related game. Well, what if that outsourced game, right? What if this outsourced game is the one being made by Pokemon Works with the assistance of ILCA? What if that's what we're looking at here? What if, like, Pokemon Works, maybe like the backlash of BDSP made them decide, okay, you know what, we're gonna make our own subsidiary studio where we have full control and we'll have ILCA support because they've already got the framework. They've already made a Pokemon game, so now they know what it's like to make a Pokemon game, and they can assist and help us build the next game to be released whenever. Because remember, ILCA had 2 years, okay, to make BDSP. And I probably want to make a video defending BDSP at some point, not because it's a good game, but defending actually, not even the game, I would defend ILCA themselves. Because as much as people shit on ILCA, I think it's not fair. The company can make good games. They've made good shit. They made One Piece Odyssey. That game is fantastic. Again, my point is, they're not a bad studio, but they were given 2 years to make a whole Pokemon remake, which is, that's a lot of work, okay? Making all those models, making everything. Like, it takes a while, building out that world, everything, all that stuff. It takes a while. They were given 2 years. The fact that the game ran at all is actually impressive. Like, the fact that the game functioned and you can play the game from beginning to end without everything going to shit is impressive. It is also impressive somehow how all the bugs stayed in there from the original game, which makes no sense. But my point stands. What I'm trying to say is that, honestly, ILCA is not to blame for BDSP being a bad game. It's the Pokemon Company. It's Game Freak. It's them, because they gave them something to make, and they gave them 2 years to make it. Like, that's not a lot of time. That's not a lot to work with. So I wonder if now that they have more experience with it, that they have a general idea of how to work with Pokemon as a franchise, if maybe, because think about it, BDSP came out in what? 2021. By the time this year, like towards the end of this year, it'll be 3 years since BDSP, which would be a good timing, I guess, for another remake, or at least would have given them enough time to work together with Pokemon Works and work together with ILCA, because this Pokemon Works group could have literally been a group from the Pokemon Company that was just there helping them along the way, or worked from their office, and together they were kind of correlating, and they decided, hey, let's actually work together, and now we're going to make a whole subsidiary company there to specifically have them on location as a separate company to help you. Like, instead of just having the Pokemon Company and Game Freak coming and assisting them 24/7. Like, I think that makes total sense. So, basically, to summarize what we've talked about today, we have more or less Pioro, a legitimate leaker, right? We have Ku, a leaker that has been corrected, a quote-unquote Riddler, who has got some stuff wrong, and people are kind of a little bit pissy about him right now. You have him, so that's 2 people. You have one of my people in the background, one of my sources, one of Soul Silver's 2 sources. He has 2 people he knows in the background, right? So that's like 5 different like sources that are saying this is going to happen. On top of that, you have this post like we talked about from Centro, from this goopy snail person, which literally says the same thing as well. Like literally same thing. Talking about a outsourced Gen 5 remake, not by Ilka, but by a different company. So it makes me wonder if this different company is literally Pokemon Works, and that's a subsidiary that isn't Game Freak, so it is still outsourced. It's given to a different company, and together with Ilka, with their knowledge, they can make this remake. Again, this is all just speculation, but I'd love to know what you guys think about it in the comment section down below. This video kept me up all night. I was going to make this video yesterday already, but I decided to wait and just make it today instead to see if anything else would pop up. And that's pretty much that, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.